Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sota stream. We are live with Pat Micheletti, former Gopher, former Minnesota North Star, and current NHL analyst. Very well educated in the game of hockey. I just want to first ask you, how have you been coping in quarantine without any, well, I should say, any new hockey? I know there's replays of stuff going on, but how have you been coping without hockey in this quarantine?
Well, it's been difficult, but you know what? For me, this is what we're going through, what the world is going through. It's awful. It's awful to see people out of work. It's, people struggling, and you get to realize it really made me think back to how fortunate we all are, and how fortunate I was to play this great game. And
Yes.
I don't know, I say we take things for granted, but we shouldn't take things for granted. That's for sure. And so, you know what, when it comes, it's going to come back.
Yeah.
I don't know when that is, but we all hope, all sports, and we all get our lives back sooner than later.
Yeah. I was also going to ask, when you see hockey coming back, what would you prefer? I know that there's been some things thrown around, rumors thrown around that there could be a 24-team playoff, or just finish off the rest of the season, have a shortened playoff. What do you expect to see, or what do you want to see out of the NHL if they do resume this season?
Well, I want to make sure they do it right, and that they get it right. I think one thing that the National Hockey League is doing, and I know the players feel this way, is, they want to make sure that, everybody can get tested. And, they don't want to be the ones to say, to get tested where, most people can't. And so, I think that's real important, that the testing part of it is real important. They don't want to feel like they're entitled. And I think that's great. What do I want to see when it comes back? It's really hard to say. Again, there's so much that has to happen. Free agency, the draft, logistics, getting the European players back over. I know the NHL is really big on integrity. And as much as they want to name a Stanley Cup champ for this year, if it's not going to be done right, then I say wait until and wait until you can do it the proper way.
Exactly.
Right. All right. A lot of people recognize you as a goal scorer and kind of a skill-making playmaker, as you are third all-time in assists at the U of M and second all-time in points. Now, I found a little fact about you, that you're the all-time penalty minute in a season record holder for the Gophers.
What do you say about that?
What do I think about that? Well, let me tell you a couple of things. One good, one not so good. The not so good is that I probably wasn't the most mature player at that time, and didn't control things the way I probably should have controlled things. Now, on the flip side of that, when you're a guy that's 5'9", when I started college, I was probably a $165, $170, and if I was going to score goals, if I was gonna get to the front of the and claim that area, well, guess what? You were going to know I was there. And, that got me in a little trouble sometimes. But on the other hand, guys, defensemen knew that they were going to get a stick on the ankles, the back of the legs, a cross check, just like they were getting me, I was going to do to them. And so, it bought me a little space, if you will. And I, and that, you kind of, so it's kind of a give and take, right? I took a lot of penalties, but on the other hand, it put me in a position where I could score a lot of goals.
Yeah, I'm going on from that. Like, I mean, there were probably things back then in the early 80s that you probably could get away with that you definitely couldn't get away with now in terms
Oh,
of, I don't know. I mean, go on about that, some of that stuff.
but the game's changed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way. I don't know if I would have survived in this day and age because I mean, remember, you were allowed to hook, you were allowed to hold, you were allowed to slap, get away with stuff. I mean, trying to get into the offensive zone, you could literally hold a guy up at the blue line, and now anytime you get your stick,
Yep.
waist high, you're getting a penalty, and so the game's changed, and some think for the better, and some liked it the way it used to be. It's a great game, and it's ever changing.
Definitely.
Okay, and staying on the Gopher hockey topic,
Yep.
with the way the season ended this year, how do you think this team shaping up into next year is gonna fare in the Big Ten play?
Well, I'm pretty optimistic. They've got a lot of young talent. I mean, their defensive core with the three freshmen that they had were really, 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 really good. I always like to wait until December to really get a good feel of a team, going in. We can look at it and say, look at North Dakota next year. They should be favored to win the whole thing, because they've got everybody coming back, and they only lost 5-6 games this year. So, but I like Minnesota. They have to find a way to score some more goals up front. They need to be a little bit more consistent back there. I think their goaltending, LaFontaine, was one of the best in the country at the end of the season. So, and Bob's got him, I think, playing the way that he likes them or wants them to play. So they're getting there, and it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, it was fun to watch them the last half of that season. They started out very slow at the beginning, had an under 500 record, and by the end of the season, they're holding their own with those Big Ten teams. So,
well, you got it just when you're that young, and I hate to use that term a lot because who's not young in college hockey.
Right.
You've got a few teams that are a little bit older, but for the most part, they're all young. And it really, to me, it takes a couple guys on the team to really not necessarily carry the load, but make sure everyone is, feeling the way that they should be feeling. And it's really hard to explain because, I remember as a freshman coming in, and we had a heralded group: Corey Millen, Wally Chapman, Tony Kellen, guys like that. They were really good players. And then we had our older group of guys, Butsy Erickson, Scott Bukestad, and they'd been there. They'd played 3 years. And, it took a while for us to really understand what it took to win, what you needed to do to win. And they were terrific. So, your leadership at the top really has to be really good leaders.
Yeah, definitely. And staying on kind of Gopher hockey in general, I know it's kind of been a hot debated topic, but I know that Gopher hockey's been, historically kind of down in the last 4 or 5 years compared to what they've done in the past. And I know it's very frustrating for fans, and a lot of people, put blame on, joining the Big Ten and disbanding the WCHA. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think they should have done that, or do you think it was warranted, or it was going to happen anyway, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm a grow the game guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the more the merrier, the more teams we can get in. But what I think how do I say this? I think if all of the important people in the game put their egos aside, I think we'd all know what to do, right?
Yep.
College hockey is not college football.
No.
It's not college basketball. It doesn't get the national recognition that those sports get, or nor do they bring the money in that those sports do. So how do we do that? Well, we create rivalries and we create leagues and we create, the regionality of the sport. I think we need to get back to that. Now, that doesn't say we have to break up this league, that league, or the other league, but I just think we can be smarter in how it's all positioned, if that makes sense. I'm trying to be politically correct here.
Yes.
I can tell you attendance is down everywhere in college hockey. And I can tell you one thing, with the great coaches that we have in the state and the 5 really good teams that we have in the state, can you imagine weekend after weekend those teams playing each other? I just think I think we missed a great opportunity, and I think all 5 teams in the state should be in the same league.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
Find a way, be creative. I know we have the Big Ten Network and all the the regionals, and I get that, but still, I think we could find a way to make it work where everyone's happy.
Exactly.
I tell you what, I use this analogy a lot, but Western Michigan, Miami of Ohio, their rivalries were Michigan and Michigan State, and they would sell out those games. I do some national college games, and I'm in buildings where a UMD is playing a Western Michigan, let's say. And guess what? They're not selling out in Kalamazoo for that series.
No.
Now, it didn't matter if UMD or whoever was number 1 or number 2 in the country. That doesn't matter. It's the rivalries, it's the fans, and I hope we get back to that someday.
Yeah, and I think with the rivalries actually would be very good right now, because back in the day, UMD hockey, it wasn't very good. Mankato was at the bottom of the WCHA, even Bemidji and those teams. And now UMD's back-to-back national champions. Mankato was a 1 seed last year. I mean, these teams are good again, and we could have some really good rivalries in this state. And I just think I agree
we're
with
blowing
you,
it.
Missing out on big opportunities.
Well, listen, guys, I'll give you a good example, right? Every Sunday night during the hockey season, I do Pat's Provincial Poll on Fox 9, okay? And I tell you what, every week I struggle because, is it UMD this weekend? Is it Mankato, Minnesota State another weekend? Should I put them as ties? Well, I can't do that. I got to go 1 through 5, and, then you've got, Bemidji had a terrific year this year. Would have made the NCAAs.
Yeah, for sure.
So when I'm saying, well, there's 1A, 1B, 1, it gets really hard. And we're, like I said, Minnesota's blessed with the 5 collegiate teams they have.
Yeah, and kind of shifting away from college hockey a little bit, going back to when you played for the North Stars in your time there. What was like the fondest memory you had of playing it with the North Stars? I mean, either a crazy in-game experience, maybe a fight you got into, or something like that. I mean, what's something that sticks out to you when you think back to your North Stars days?
Well, I was with the organization for 2 years, and my first year, I was in the minors the whole year.
Yeah.
My second year, I had a great camp. I led the team in scoring in the exhibition season. Thought I was going to stay up. Yep. You get to the pro game and you just don't know, right?
Exactly.
And then I get sent down, and the first exhibition game down in Kalamazoo, I tear ligaments in my knee. And so I was out, a quarter of the year, and came back, and and I think I had like 12 goals in like 4 or 5 games in Kalamazoo. They called me up, and it really crazy story about getting called up. The morning I was supposed to get called up, we were leaving on a 6-hour road trip to Peoria, Illinois.
Yep.
And the North Stars had called to call me up a day before the game, right?
Yep.
And I didn't know this. And so we're on the bus. We get to Peoria. We play the game. I had 3 goals in the first period.
Damn.
And all of a sudden, second period, I only play a couple shifts. I'm looking back at my coach. What are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
And then the third period, I'm benched.
Mm-hmm.
I don't play. And I'm like, what is going on? I didn't do anything stupid, but, whatever. And then finally after the game, they told me, I held you out because you got called up. You're going up to Minnesota. You got to catch a plane at 8:00 tomorrow morning. Well, we drove back from Peoria right after the game. We didn't get back till like 4:30 in the morning. Had to go home, pack, fly to Minnesota, and play that night. And you would think you were tired, but the adrenaline was so so high, and it was just it was the first game you ever play is a great experience.
Yeah, definitely. Who was that in that first game you played? Who was that against?
The Quebec Nordiques.
Oh, wow. The Nordiques.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
good
how
one.
long ago. That's how long ago I played, fellas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was fortunate enough to have Dennis Marouk as my center. If you remember, he scored 69 goals in the league one year. And, it was great to play, for Herb Brooks because, I had known Herbie since I was probably 5 years old, because he recruited both my brother Joe and my brother Don at Minnesota. And, so it was great to play with him. And, I was with the North Stars when the organization, was down.
Yeah,
and
it was on the downturn, yep.
And, Herbie left at the end of the year, and lo and behold, I had an opportunity to go to Europe to play. And the thing was, Dino Ciccarelli, we all know Dino and the career he had. And so he and I were, both right wingers, both the same size, both played the same way. And, there's no way at that point in time that they were going to keep 2 guys of our size up there. So, I was either going to be up and down and up and down. And, so I thought, what, let's just go to Europe and play over there. And that's what I did.
Cool. Okay. Let's switch gears and move on to pro hockey. Now we know the season is not a guarantee to get started again or anything like that, but with certain players from the KHL signing over here, like that goalie that signed with the Islanders, there's some teams that potentially got a lot better if this season did get resumed. I'd like to hear your favorites if the season got resumed to make a run in the playoffs when they come.
I was thinking about this the other day, guys, and you know what? To me, you don't know.
You never know, even
really,
during. Yeah.
It really. I mean, we can say that even if the season had resumed and you kind of have an idea, and maybe a team will get hot, but now everyone's going in with the unknown. You're off this long. How are you going to get out of the gate? Does the team get hot right away?
Yep.
I think it's up for grabs, really. And I mean, there's, it's there for anybody to win. Now, sure, teams have, a little bit more talent here, a little bit more talent there. But I tell you, the playoffs anyway, as you guys both know, is it's a different animal.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, we saw last year, Columbus in the first, everyone thought Tampa was going to win it,
first round.
last year. And, and they got punched in the face in that first round. And so you never know. And that's why I think every team wants to get going because they all feel that they have a chance.
Yeah.
Even the teams that currently are not in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah,
right?
They're counting on that maybe expanded playoff format or something like that. It's crazy.
And so, you can't rule those teams out either.
Exactly.
I personally like the idea of a 2014 playoff. I think you can leave the teams that are completely out of it if they resumed and they had a regular season. There's teams at the bottom of those that aren't going to be playing for anything, and they might not be trying hard. They're just going out there to earn a paycheck. I think if you start, you do a training camp, you put the top 12 teams in a bracket, and you do it however you want to do it. I think that's something that could work.
And here's another thing, guys. I don't know how long training camp would be. Let's call it. Yep. Let's call it 2 weeks. All right. Let's call it 3 weeks. You don't know injury wise, right?
Yeah.
You could lose a guy right away. All of a sudden, your team is turned upside down a little bit. Couple injuries. Your goalie is not sharp, right? And you guys know that you need a hot goaltender in the playoffs.
You do.
I mean, if you don't have goaltending in the playoffs, forget it.
Yeah.
Because one goal can lose the whole series for you.
Look at Jake Allen. He stole a series against the Wild back in
20 Yes, he did.
He completely stole that series.
He was a whole different animal in those playoffs. Like, we outshot them 2-1 in almost every game.
Look at Bennington last year.
Yeah,
with the Blues. I mean, hey, the Blues were dead.
They were in last place
1st, and then Bennington gets hot, and it's crazy.
Yeah, hot goalie makes all the difference in the playoffs. So that would be an issue with teams coming back, goalies not being ready. I think it'd be really interesting to see these teams coming back and get back into it.
Yeah, it might be. I know we were talking with Kevin Fallness of Wild Radio Network earlier today, and he was mentioning that if the teams do come back, as much as we would love to see hockey again, it very well could just be very sloppy hockey. I mean, it's just because you don't know how long they'll be able to train for. If they do get a sufficient amount of time, it might not be bad. But I mean, these players have been out of it like the season ended, and there's no preseason. It might be like preseason hockey in a way. So it'd be really interesting to see.
The only thing I'll counter with that is that when you know what you're playing for, there's a different mindset. Mentally, the focus is going to be a lot stronger than playing a exhibition game.
Right. Exactly.
Let's say that.
Exactly.
So, that
plays a factor.
The thing that will be really interesting is, and as a former player, you get really jacked to play in front of people.
Yes. The adrenaline and everything.
I always looked at it, even going back to college, because you work so hard during the week in practice, and practice is no fun and blah blah blah. You look forward to I looked at it, how are we going to entertain tonight? It's Friday night,
exactly,
and it's Saturday night, and you got a full house at Williams Arena, which became Mariucci Arena. I lived, nothing got me more jacked or excited to play, and even on the road in Duluth or Madison or or Grand Forks. But it'll be interesting to see how guys react to playing in front of nobody.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is they could be very well playing in front of no fans for a Stanley Cup.
I think
that's
it'll
crazy.
be hard. I think it'll be very, very hard because you thrive on the energy, the noise, the excitement, the yelling, the clapping, all of that. It's part of the game.
It's part of the energy and the environment.
And now you feel like you're just scrimmaging to a certain degree. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And going off, like we were talking about, like teams being hot and everything, it kind of sucks. And we mentioned this with other hockey guys, but it was so damn fun watching the Wild there. Right before the season was suspended, they were hot at watching Alex Stalock make the saves he was making, watching Kevin Fiala making his moves, looking like our next Marian Gaborik kind of type player to come in here and just step up and be a star player, an elite player we haven't really had here in a while. They were fun to watch, and it just sucks we couldn't really see how that was going to end. I mean, Whether that was a Stanley Cup is still far-fetched, but I mean, just to see how that team would have eventually, if they would have made the playoffs, see what they would have done.
The NHL is a game of survival.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, you can't get too up and you can't get too down. And, I do fan line with Kevin and Brandon Molesky, after games. And, I always try to remind people, it's only game 30. It's only game 31. And, you can't get too high or too low because really, and it's a game of momentum. It's a game of feeling and confidence. And, I listen, you guys have watched the game long enough, and I have also, and you can sense when a team is in rhythm or when they're not in rhythm.
Exactly.
And there's certain tells for me that, I can tell if a team, they're going again. Why are they going? It's line after line. It's, how they're going to the bench, off the ice and on the ice, where the focus is, and that sense of we're not going to lose tonight feeling. And it's hard to maintain it. And it's hard to get it back. But the teams that do are the teams that, really survive the long stretch.
Yeah. Now, with the emergence of Kevin Fiala and these young players stepping up and playing how they really can and how they should be playing, someone like Kirill Kaprizov coming over from Russia, this supposed to be a superstar, what should the level of excitement be for Wild fans next year? What should they expect from him?
Well, I have a couple answers on that.
Yeah.
He has the makings of a superstar. No doubt about it. Okay. But, and another thing he has going for him, he's a little bit older than your typical rookie. Okay. He'll be coming in at age 23.
Yep.
Those are the plus sides. His talent is immense. But you just can't expect him to come over. This is the best league in the world.
Yes.
And there's going to be pitfalls along the way. There is for everybody. And whoever tells you that that's not true, well, it's true. And so I think you have to have patience with them. I think you got to play him with the right guys. I think you got to acclimate them to the culture as quickly as you can, and just be patient. Listen, one guy doesn't win a cup for you,
especially in hockey.
And so you're going to need everybody. And so, but I tell you what, he's going to be a great addition. He's just a really, a really, really good hockey player, and a guy who is not afraid, and he can shoot, and he knows how to get to the net, and can score goals. So, I'm really excited to see him, and it'll be someone that we haven't seen in Minnesota in a long time.
Yeah, and I think that keyword you mentioned is patience with him though as well, because I mean, Minnesota fans tend to jump on people and hate on people very quickly if they're not working out or whatever. And even though this guy is putting up great stats in the KHL, and I think he'll eventually, I mean, ideally looking on paper, he will eventually fare well in the NHL, adjust to it, but it might take him. I mean, it could take him, a couple of months to get affiliated and get used to the NHL on it. And Minnesota fans, I could just see them jumping on very quickly, be like, oh, he's not fitting, this is a bust, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, you got to be patient. He's coming from a different league. He's adjusting. And it's about chemistry with players as well, I feel like.
He's also never lived in the United States. He's coming from a place where he's lived his entire life. He grew up there. So here's the thing too, guys, is that, this is the best league in the world.
Yes.
You know what? There are other teams with great players. There are other teams with really good players, and to do it night in and night out is is really, really hard.
It is.
It's easy for us to sit and watch and say, oh man, how come he didn't score tonight?
Yeah, right.
How come he looks blah, and so that's why I preach patience and not only with him but with the team, with the team itself. I mean, there were times during the season that people thought, oh my gosh, this team is awful. It's terrible. But you know what?
Yeah.
When you're an athlete, when you're a pro athlete, and I know you guys have talked to others, but you have an inner drive, and I don't care how much money you make, it's still a game, and it's still about winning, and it's still about doing what you have to do, and there's pride involved, and you want to live up. You don't become a professional player without drive and without passion and, without wanting to be the best. I rarely see that now. Some guys just can't get it together.
Yep.
And what you think what you think they might be, they just don't turn out for whatever reason. But every professional athlete has a drive, or else they wouldn't be able to get there.
Right. And speaking of like Minnesota fans too, I know you've mentioned that you done. I've heard you on it doing fan line with Fallness and Micheletti. I mean, is there been any? I mean, what's been like kind of the funniest or maybe even craziest take you've heard from a fan or someone call in about something? Is there anything that sticks out to you from anything anybody said on the fan line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen. Huh? What are you? And it's so I've done this for so many years now, and you get to the point where hey, listen, there's a reason why we call it fan line.
Yeah.
It's for the fans to say what's on their mind
Vent.
and vent and give their thoughts, and sometimes you try to talk them off the ledge. Sometimes you maybe give something that will make them say, huh, I never thought of that. And sometimes you're a little harder, and then you get told where to go.
Exactly.
But it's really fun. It's fun engaging with the fans.
Yes, definitely.
Because you know what, the fans have a right to speak.
Yep.
And they have a right to say what they think and what they feel, and that's great, because without the fans, we have no pro sports.
Exactly.
We don't. And you have to be aware, cognizant, and respectful of that. And I try to do that as much as I can.
Yeah, it's just funny when you hear some of those fan lines. You see, I mean, a lot of people make valid points. The fans are very smart. They watch the game, make valid points. But then there's just those people that really have no logic to back up anything. Like, fire the coach. We need to jump ship, tank the team, and just trade everybody away. And I guess that's another question. I mean, how do you feel about? There's people out there that I've talked to that says, nope, we should literally just tank this year on purpose. Trade away players to get a better draft pick. I think that's ridiculous, quite frankly, because I don't think you're going to get a coach to literally – you're going to tell a coach, hey, don't win these games. But there are fans out there that think that.
Well, here's the deal. If I'm the general manager of a team, okay, how can I go to my players and say, you don't have to play hard tonight?
Exactly.
Because the culture that you're trying to provide, trying to instill in the organization, from the office worker to the ticket seller to the usher is we're going to go and we're going to be focused. We're going to be 100%. We're going to try our best. And you know what? And that's what the players have to do too. And guess what? The players are playing just to get a draft pick that may or may not pan out in 2 years.
Exactly.
They're here to win it now,
Yeah.
And you know what? Who knows what tomorrow brings, right?
Exactly.
And and listen, we've seen teams.
We've seen crazier things, man.
We've seen
in all sports, all sports where you just don't think, and all of a sudden, here they are, champions. And so, no, I don't believe. I think you try and you go and you try to put on the show that you can. Yeah. But but on the other hand, I understand what the fans are thinking. They're paying awfully good money, and they want to see a good product on the ice.
Exactly.
And some nights the guys aren't good, and there's a lot of stuff too that the fans don't see. They're not in the locker room. No. They don't know. They don't know if a guy's slightly injured. They don't know if there's some other issues going on. They don't know the relationship between player, coach, GM, this, that. They have personal lives. I mean, there's so much that goes on. But as the fan, when we see him step out on the ice or the field or the court, we expect greatness. And that's just the reality of fans all over the world.
Exactly. And I know you got to focus on the future for any team, but you're still playing this season for a reason. And I think I actually heard you on the radio say that you can't really say, I mean, what are some of these veteran players thinking, like Eric Stahl or Mikko Koivu or Ryan Suter or Zach Parise? You can't tell them, hey, they're playing for this season as much as whatever is being written in the media. They want to win a cup this year. As crazy as that may sound to a fan, they're thinking Stanley Cup. I mean,
hey, and guys, it too. Yeah. You guys know it. You've been around. There's nothing better than a playoff game. Nothing.
No. Oh my gosh.
No. And when I don't care. I mean, the atmosphere,
it's unreal.
The intensity, just everything involved in that experience for a player, for a fan, for a coach. You name it. There's nothing like it, and there's nothing like winning a championship.
No, gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. I miss it. Honestly,
I know.
It's unreal. It's one of the greatest atmospheres around. Honestly,
I think part of fans wanting our team to tank a little bit. I don't think the NHL draft is a draft. It has 2 to 3 players that are going to affect your team immediately. Basically, every year there might be 2 or 3 that play right away. And you could tank, have that lottery happen, and get the 6th pick. I've never agreed with tanking. So
makes no sense.
I think what's more important is what you draft after the first round.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very true.
There are years where 5, 6, maybe 7 guys make it. It all depends what team you're on. You are. There's a lot of facts here. So. Whatever. But this is a sport where the draft doesn't tell you anything for 2 to 3 years.
Exactly.
Okay. And unlike the NFL where you have guys jumping in the starting lineup or whatever the case may be, and so we're one sport that really. It takes time because you're talking an 18-year-old kid all of a sudden playing against 25, 26, 28, 30, whatever year-old guys. They're men, okay? They are men. And then just getting, they're just getting used to that lifestyle. And, it takes time. There's no question.
Yeah.
Now, last night we talked about this with Gone Puck Wild, a fan-sided website.
Yeah.
How big is adding a number 1 center for the Minnesota Wild as far as pecking order going from goaltending, defensemen, and then forwards? Where is getting a number 1 center fall for you?
Well, I'll take it a little deeper than that. They need to go 1-2 up the middle. It's easier said than done. But if you look at most teams in the National Hockey League, the teams that are really strong up the middle are typically pretty good teams. And if that's one area, because if you look at Minnesota, they have to address their goaltending.
Yep.
And
100%.
whether that is, a case in point, I like Devin Dubnyk.
Yeah.
Okay. And he had a tough year, personally. And I think that weighed a lot on him.
Yeah.
And with his wife getting ill. And so, they've got a decision to make. The bottom line is they need better goaltending, whether that's Devin Dubnyk, or they bring somebody else in, via free agency or trade. I think that's really important. Without a goaltender, you're not going to win. Secondly, they need to get stronger up the middle. There's no question, whether it be speed guy with a little more, a little bit more dynamic. This team at times can be, I don't want to say easy to play against, but if you shut down, player X or player Y, Minnesota's going to have a hard time scoring goals. So just adding someone a little bit more dynamic that will, stretch his zone for you a little bit, create some speed up the middle. That'll push, the opposing team's D back a little bit. I think would really create a lot of space for the Fialas, the Parisis, the Kaprizovs of the world.
Exactly. And I know that, and probably people tuning in now, I mean, who are Wild fans specifically, I mean, they're very frustrated having seen them. They went to like 6 playoffs in a row, only to make it out of the first round twice. And I remember I wrote an opinion piece for a class when I was at the U a couple years ago. I talked to you, Pat, and I think the one main thing you were telling me, I'm like, what ingredient are the Wild missing for us to win a Stanley Cup here? I mean, we're the state of hockey. Why can't we do it? I remember you were talking to me about that people always think of like your star players, your first and second line, but I think you were talking to me about it's really your depth guys, your third and fourth line guys that come out and grind and get those dirty goals.
Well, you need everybody, and especially when it comes to playoff time, because, you've got to be able to bang. You have to, you need contributions from everybody. This team isn't built with snipers, per se. No. They're getting there. I think with the Fiala, we're starting to see a little bit, and potentially Kaprizov. How Parisi's going to score his goals. But, when you have depth, then you're much harder to defend, because you know that we just don't have to stop this guy
just
or
one
this
line.
Yeah
Exactly.
And so it's hard to score. I mean, it really is, because it's a really good league. And so again, you have that depth, you're gonna certainly be much better off.
Well, I'm going to take you a step further there. Our fourth line this year with Koivu up the middle and Donato and Hartman, towards the end of the year, they were a really good line for us. They were scoring goals. They were getting offensive zone time. Basically what I'm trying to ask, do you think Mikko Koivu has 1 or 2 more strong years in him to center a fourth line like that to kind of anchor it down?
That's a good question. I think, when you have Eriksson Ek, it all depends. This has really thrown everything into a spiral, right? I mean, this pandemic thing. Because, Mikko's contract is up. I know he doesn't want to play anywhere else in the National Hockey League here. He very well could play in Europe next year. We don't know. Can he play? Well, I think Mikko has had a unbelievable career, and anyone who says other is wrong. Everyone wanted him to be an 80-point guy. But he did a lot more for your team. Now, would he be best suited in a role that can still get him, 10 to 11 minutes a night, kill penalties, win big draws? Be out there at the end of the game in a defensive situation. But a lot's going to depend on what they decide to do, because they have Eriksson Ek, they have Rukanen, They have Eric Stahl coming back.
Yep.
And then where do you slot guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's our cap at? Are we going to be able to spend X amount on a potential goalie, and where's that going to put us cap wise?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think there's a lot of factors involved, no question. So I guess I'm not skirting the question. I just don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's hard for a lot of people to answer. I know there's a lot of people that have the opinion like, yeah, he's done, he should leave. But in reality, we don't know. Only really he knows if he can put up another couple strong years in the NHL.
Yeah. Playing at the end of the season.
Well, I put it this, if you're asking me if he can be a number 2 center, number 1 or 2 center, no, because he's just not going to be effective playing, 15 to 19 minutes a night. He doesn't have the speed anymore, and you have to have speed through the middle. If you do not have speed through the middle, you get clogged up. You don't get the puck in. You don't create a forecheck, and that's where you struggle. And if that's one area, not that Minnesota is a slow team, but they're not as fleet of foot as we would like them to be up the middle of the ice.
Yeah,
no,
definitely.
No.
Now, kind of circling back, you'd mentioned that you played for Herb Brooks. You knew him. Obviously, and this year was the 40th year of the Miracle on Ice. I mean, did you binge the movie Miracle? Did you do anything to kind of celebrate that big anniversary for that big game in 1980?
Well, let me tell you guys, I grew up with this team.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. There were nine guys on that team who played at the University of Minnesota. And, when I was young, my brothers, obviously Joe and Don, both won national championships at Minnesota. So I knew all those guys, right?
Yep.
I was a little kid in the locker room, their stick boy. I grew up with them. And so, to me, it was, as a young kid, like every young kid, it was the greatest thing that we've ever seen. And it was a little bit more special because, of my relationship with Herbie.
Yes.
And my relationship with all the players on that team. That's what made it so special, for a kid like me.
Yeah. It was definitely like a special. I mean, I obviously wasn't alive during it. I only really could watch, footage of the game and then watching the movie Miracle. But it's just, it kind of crept up on me. I'm like, it's the 40th anniversary of such an amazing game in U.S. history.
Funny story. So my rookie year in pro, I was in the minors and they had a tournament in Calgary because the 88 games were in Calgary.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So in 1987, that host city hosted a tournament, 4 teams, the Czechs, the Americans, the Russians, and the Canadians. Okay. And at that time, Canada had a national team. Well, the Russians obviously did, and the Czechs did. The U.S. did not at that time.
Yeah.
So what they did was they took all the guys that were in the American League and just put us together for that one tournament. Yeah. We didn't even practice.
Wow.
Brett Hull and I were line mates,
nice.
Awesome. And so we go in into Calgary. We get there a day before the game start. We have a morning practice, and then we play that night, right, against Canada. We think we're going to get, smoked, right? They've already played 60 games. But we've been playing too, but not with each other. And this game was nationally televised, hockey night in Canada, and we're playing against Canada, right? We end up beating them in overtime.
Nice.
I got the game winner. Thank you.
Yeah,
but
there you go.
There you go.
Okay. So then we move on. We were feeling pretty good, and we played that same exact team that the 1980 team played. And the next night. So we're out there against Fedosov, Makarov, Krutov, all, and Tradiak was in net.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking across at Brett Hull. Our line's out starting the game.
Mm-hmm.
And he's looking at me. And Brett always had a smile on his face. And he looks at me and he just shakes his head. He said, "Oh my God, we're in trouble." Well, get this. The Russians win the draw, right? Mm-hmm. And Fedosov, who was the best Russian defenseman, falls down. I pick up the puck.
There you go.
I'm going in on a breakaway on Tradiak, right? Yep. And all of a sudden I hear, oh. I'm like, oh my God. Fedosov got up and he catches me, from behind, cross-checks me, and I went flying into the boards.
I'd have been pissed.
I think, guys, honest to God, I think that was the only time all night I touched the puck. They toyed with us. Yeah. We were just like, they were weaving and dangling and, it was just, I think we lost 8-1 or something like that. I don't even know if we scored. Yeah. But it was just like, okay, back to reality.
Yeah. Well, that's a fascinating story. I mean, that's kind of, not a lot of people have probably heard about that in '88. So that's awesome. I know we're approaching 7 o'clock here when concluding this interview, but I think the final segment we want to do with you has been kind of a signature thing we're doing here at 10,000 Takes with with every single one of our guests, is where we do a rapid fire kind of would you rather hypothetical crazy questions, nothing too nuts, but kind of go down a list of those. I mean, are you ready to go? Are you ready to go for those?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Number 1, would you rather spend the rest of your life blind or in an Olive Garden?
Olive Garden.
Yeah, that's the popular choice. We've had a couple blind answers, but if you're given an all expenses paid trip to Cleveland, would you take it?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to Cleveland. Yeah.
Everybody that says they've been to Cleveland, they like it, and people that haven't been there, they're like, no, I'm good. So it's like people that haven't been there hear bad things about it. So,
yeah.
What is the correct term? Hot dish or casserole?
Ooh, I'm a hot dish guy.
Yeah, that's been the big one.
I am.
Yeah,
I'm a hot dish guy.
I think I'd have to agree with that.
I'm from the Iron Range.
Yeah.
Hot dish.
Then you're definitely hot dish, 100%. Yeah. If a movie was made about your life, who would play you?
Probably Robert De Niro.
Okay. I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
I see that vibe going with you. There you go. Yeah. Would you rather have a head the size of a tennis ball or the size of a watermelon?
Jesus.
There's some crazy ones, man.
Tennis ball.
There you go. You're like one of only 2 people that have said that.
When I did mine
yeah.
too, so.
Yeah. You and Corey Provis, the radio guy for the Twins.
Well, he just, Corey's a smart guy.
Yeah, he is, definitely. This might be obvious, but are you a Minneapolis or St. Paul guy?
Ooh, St. Paul. I live in Egan, so and I'm downtown St. Paul more than I am Minneapolis.
Yeah, you're very close to St. Paul there in Egan. Definitely, it's not that far away. In self-defense, in a total self-defense situation, how many fifth graders could you fend off?
Now?
Yeah. Now, yes, now.
See, I have two new hips and a new knee.
There you go.
I had a kidney transplant 5 years ago. Man, I'm gonna say 3.
Okay. That's more. We've had some people say 0, so we'll take it.
Well,
would you rather wear a shirt that's kind of itchy or wear a pair of shoes that have a pebble in it all the time?
Oh, a pebble in the foot because I've got no feeling in my left leg. Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
My left foot.
Nice. Easy answer then.
Yeah.
What's more realistic, ghosts or aliens?
Aliens.
Yep. You have one. We might know the answer of this, 100%. But you have one sport to watch the rest of your life. What is it?
one sport to watch.
Wow, we thought you'd be quicker on this.
Australian rules football.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Like
that's
rugby?
rugby.
Huh?
Is that rugby?
Australian rules football.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a crazy answer.
That or
Oh man.
that or cricket. I used to watch a lot of cricket
Wow.
when I was when I was over in Europe, because I got one
nice.
station. Yeah. And I watched a lot of cricket.
There you go.
Those are two unique sports. I don't think we've heard those before.
That's crazy. Well, Pat, that really concludes our time with you. We really appreciate you coming on. You had such great insight about hockey and everything, and bringing everything up from your time playing to now about the Minnesota Wild. Everything, you bring great insight to it, the sport of hockey, especially in Minnesota, and Minnesota fans all around. But we appreciate you coming on, man, for a great cause.
Well, you know what? Listen. I told you guys off air. What you guys are doing is unbelievable for a great cause. We all should be helping one another in this tough time, and you guys are really leading the way. And I appreciate you asking me to come on. Mm-hmm. It was my pleasure, and I hope this is just a great success. Anything I can do, let me know.
Yeah, for sure, Pat. Make sure if you want to donate, again, go to 10,000takesmn.com/soda-stream. That's soda with the T, not like the Coke soda. And make sure you click on that big donate button. But again, Pat, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And I love Zooch.
Zooch. It's a great nickname.
Zooch, right?
They call me.
Yeah.
It's
All
way
right,
better.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Pat.
Have a good one.
Yeah, take care.